Down in the Den, so go tell a friend. The best podcast on earth's about to begin. We got jokes and news and movie reviews. After Dark NC-17 with the crew. Interviews with the best artists around. So like, comment, subscribe. The show's starting right now. Let's go. Like, comment, subscribe. The show's starting right now. Welcome to Down in the Den. It's your boy Marz. I am back again with another stellar episode. And today, I've said it before and I've said it again. Our guests, we just keep going up levels and levels. I'm finding diamonds here. And this gentleman, this musician, keyword musician, is truly a diamond. He's not even in the rough. He's polished. He's ready to go. Wordsmith, welcome to the show. How are you doing, brother?
Man, I'm good, especially after that introduction right there, boss. I appreciate it, my man. But no, thanks for having me on the show.
I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you so much. Now, the Den, we're all about discovering the people that we feel 20, 30 years from now are going to be here, really making waves and really designing the industry. And I believe you're one of those cats. So, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
You get that Artist of the Week title, and I'm ready to have some fun and dig into it. How about yourself?
Let's go. Let's do it.
Absolutely. So everyone that watches this show, they know I'm a big nerd. I grew up collecting comic books and reading comic books all day and watching the X-Men cartoon in the 90s and everything Marvel. And one thing that I've always noticed, every hero has an origin story. Be it a radioactive bug bite, be it some gamma radiation, whatever it may be. It's an origin story to take them to the hero that they are today. So Wordsmith, what's your origin story? How did you get into the music game? How did you become the artist that you are today?
Oh, man, I didn't know I was going to be the artist I became today, to be honest, man. Growing up, Baltimore City's my home. I've been out here over 20 years living out here. My kids go to school out here. I engage in my community heavy out here. But a lot of people don't know I was actually born in Germany. So I kicked off my life in Frankfurt, Germany. My pops was in the army 27 years, and we just happened to be stationed over there when I was born. So I actually got to live over there twice, and I discovered hip hop in Germany, believe it or not. The second time I was in Germany, I was between age 8 to, I think, 10 years old, I want to say. And one of the kids that went to my school, he would just have these tapes and tapes of hip hop. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about just shoe boxes of hip hop. And of course, curious. And he always would be playing it. So he would start letting my brother and I borrow 1 or 2 tapes at a time. And that's how I started, knowing about the hip hop culture, because I wasn't in America when it started to break, really started to break. Knew about some of the artists, but living in Germany between those 3 years, between 8 to 10, we would get magazines a year old. So a magazine in America, we would get that issue a year later. So it'd be mad old. The album had already dropped, been out maybe a year. And then even in what's called a PX, which is basically like the malls or any type of shopping center, if you know military style, it's PX. We would get tapes, when they cassette tapes, by the way. We would get cassette tapes in there, I would say 6 months after the project already had been out, and we would just be getting it brand new, fresh, off the press. So everything was real behind, but I started building my love for hip hop, man, in Germany and overseas. And so when we came back to America, I was just ready to get really involved in the culture. Used to use my VHS tapes, and pretty much every Saturday, on TV Raps, The Box, stacks of VHS tape and just recording these shows, getting engraved in the culture, having my favorite artists and groups. But honestly, never thought I would do hip hop. It wasn't really until we got stationed in Georgia, and a couple of my friends forced me to spit, forced me to basically, if I wanted to remain friends with them, they pretty much was like, yo, you got to spit, you got to write. And they unlocked my talent, to be honest. I didn't know I had, I would say, musical talent. I loved music, I loved hip hop, but it took an urging of friends, or it took, an ultimatum to a degree for me to, find my talent. So that's kind of a lesson that I learned out of that was you don't always see your path. Sometimes you need that outside perspective, or sometimes you need tough love. Sometimes you need someone to kind of urge you on a little bit to go, hey, I see something in you. And it's up to you at that point in time to recognize that. So, thank you to my boys back in Georgia, Richmond Hill, Georgia, by the way. And that's kind of my origin story as far as, my love for hip hop and how I kind of got started, but there's much more, as you know.
Well, salute to the gentleman in Georgia and the Piettes
Yeah,
in Germany, because without that, we wouldn't be having the great music that you are putting out today that we get to enjoy. So, salute to all of those ladies and gents back there. And I always find it interesting, especially with hip hop, because I'm a hip hop historian. I love hip hop. Your story for your discovery is interesting because I'm from the South. You're from Baltimore. I'm from Virginia. So that DMV area, you probably
sure.
know. There's a little bit of difference. So you go from Baltimore to DC and you get to Virginia, and then you start getting Southern Virginia, and you're like, oh, you're South South. Uh, but for me, I was introduced. I had a brother who's 10 years older than me. So
Okay.
when I was 9, he was 19. So he was giving me music I had no business listening to. And I always joke when other kids my age were singing Wheels in the Bus, I was singing NWA because I was just inundated with that. So it's a very, very
Same.
interesting story. So we always talk about background, and you mentioned discovering that music kind of late. Who is your Mount Rushmore? Who are the four that you think are the pinnacle that just really inspired you, influenced you? Who's your Mount Rushmore?
Number one is Redman, without a doubt. I would say next is EPMD. After that, DOS Effects. And I would say the last group, man, would be a Tribe Called Quest.
Oh,
Those
wow.
were, yeah, those are my favorites growing up. I like so many. I have a very big tape collection of hip hop to this day. But those are the four that I think influenced me the most. If I could jump in a five, it'd be Public Enemy, just because, I love to have a message in my music. And they are the ones who really taught me that you can have a message, but still be commercial viable to the masses. You know what I mean? And so that's what I strive to do with my music today is walk that middle line of this is something you can bob your head to, but in those moments when you ain't trying to bob your head and you might want to zone out and gain some knowledge, you can gain knowledge from my records at the same time.
That's beautiful. And let me tell you, that might be the best Mount Rushmore. We're about 75 episodes in, and that's probably the best Mount Rushmore I've heard just overall in music. So that makes sense why you are the
Sure.
artist that you are. So tell me about it. Walk me through your process when you're inspired to make music. It's always interesting to me because I've heard some people, oh, it just comes to me, the music just comes to me, or someone can say I watched a movie and I was influenced. What's it like for you? Is it an energy? Is it something, is it, where you just 15 minutes and the song's done, or is it something where you're like, I've been working on this project for 6 months to get this song right, this bar right? Lyrically, it seems like you take a lot of time. What's your process like?
Well, I'm gonna surprise you. Yeah, definitely. I don't take a long time to do my albums. The album that's coming out, it's actually been done since I would say June of 2020. It's just kind of been sitting because I've been busy, and to be honest with you, so my process, man, is I don't write throwaway music. And to let me explain that is when I settle down and I go, okay, I want to do an album. One, all my albums are concept albums. So if you go all the way back and kind of look at my history of releases, the raw concept albums about life. And you can literally follow my albums from my beginning to what I'm about to drop with my latest album, Bittersweet. And it just literally tells a day in a life that continues, our day in a life as we evolve as people, as society has evolved. It's all embedded in my music. And as far as my creative process, when I say I don't do any throwaway music, once I know my concept, for example, with this Bittersweet album, I want to deliver a musical album where it, basically reflects the emotions that we go through every day. We have very bitter moments within a day. And then 5 minutes later, you could have a very sweet moment where you're like, man, I totally forgot that I lost my job because this X and X happened, or I got offered a better job, or you anything can happen in a day to give us that ebb and flow. And so this album has an ebb and flow to it. You get a real gritty, kind of dark opening record, kind of like my opening single with Bitter, which opens up the album. And then the next record is sweet, but you'll see with this record, it's more uplifting, makes you feel good, make you want to dance, and just talks about the celebration of life. You know, as you get out of that bitterness and releasing that hate and just saying, hey, I'm coming to peace with things. Let's celebrate life. And that's how you'll see the difference. And throughout this project, you get that back and forth of angry a little bit, I'm sad a little bit, but hey, I'm coming out of it now. This is the other side. And so again, I'm never going to anything going, I'm making 50, 100 songs. I'll be hearing about artists having 300 songs for an album. And I go, man, that's a lot of wasted time and a lot of wasted music. You know, I write for what's needed. And the reason why I said too, on the time side, I do so much writing for TV, films, and games. I do a lot of collaborative projects. I write for a lot of other artists. I have my work with the symphony orchestra. I run my nonprofit. So my hands are in a lot. And so it's not about me rushing, trying to get to the front and going, hey, let me drop another album. It's got to have a purpose behind it for me, you know, to drop an album, whether it's a timely thing or it's working alongside of what's going on in society today. Creative wise, I create very organic. I used to write everything down. I still have my stacks and notepads from just early on in my years of all my dope rhymes. But as I went along and my life got continued to get more busy, I wouldn't always be able to grab a pen or a pad. So I started kind of just creating 4-bar segments in my mind. And I would just create my 16 bars and my 12-bar verses, and I would know them within a day, you know, just going in 4-bar segments, creating them. My verses, my bridges, things like that. I either make them up when I'm at the mic, when I'm in the moment, going through the emotion of it, or I'll kind of have pieces of it or kind of have an idea of where I want to go with, I would say, melody or tone of my voice for that particular hook in that vid or that bridge. But I love organic creation because I found when I was writing everything down, I would stick to it like sheet music with orchestra.
Wow.
But when I only had bits and pieces or nothing really, and I'm just up there creating, that's when I've been writing my best music, to be honest, because I might come up with a different idea in the midst of it and go, nah, I like this better. Or I might listen to it back the next day and go, nah, I want to change this. You know, whereas when I would write it down, I would lock it in my mind mentally and not give myself space to be even more creative.
That's a beautiful answer, and you're so right. I find having an idea and then letting things grow organically is always going to be the best way. You know, come in there with an idea, come in there with a plan, but also leave room for creativity because it grows in the room. Now, to circle back, your music, I really dig it, and it's for me. I'm 40 years old, so
My man, 40 Club.
yes, sir. So I'm from that generation of lyrics, message, music, all three. And unfortunately, and hip hop is my heart, but, and there's still good hip hop. You're an example of that. I'll never say hip hop is
Thank
dead. There's plenty of good hip hop. You just have
Sure.
to find it because unfortunately, still
True.
not to get pushed to the forefront. And then we get the you know, which is fine. There's a time and place for everything. I'm not pooping on any artist at all. But I'm noticing your music. I was listening to Progressions, your last album that came out in
Sure.
mid-August, early August. Love it, love it, love it.
Thank
And
you.
a lot of positivity in there. You talked about your nonprofit, and I noticed that you had to tell a little bit about that because I love when we have artists that are also giving back. If you could tell the
Sure.
inmates a little bit about your nonprofit.
Definitely. What led me to my nonprofit is basically just going through my journey, you know, through music, some of my struggles, tribulations, my trials, and wanting to see other artists not go through that. But also living here in Baltimore City, it's a very tough city to live in, just like a couple other cities like Detroit, Chicago, to name a few. And
Sure.
so you really got to have people in the community that are ready to take action and not wait on city hall or wait on government or politics, to put it that way and blunt. And so with Rise with the Purpose, you know, I've been blessed myself to tour a lot, go to a lot of different countries and do big concerts, intimate concerts, workshops, classes. And my biggest struggle to do all these things has been in my own city. And so just think about that. I've gotten funding to go to Africa 3 times, Israel, Lithuania, crazy countries, but barely got funding to do much of anything in my own city. You know, here and there, I'll be able to go to a Baltimore City school, and they literally would have to scrape the money together just to bring me in. Not that I want to charge them, but I'm trying to bring in a full band, teach
Right.
classes, do a
Overhead.
concert.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to do more than these kids ever get inside of a school in a 4 hour block period for 4 different grades, each get an hour segment. So you're trying to do a lot in a small amount of time and hoping it'll impact someone to go home to their mom and dad or whatever their family structure is and say, hey, I want to learn drum now. This guy came to the school. I don't even care if you remember my name, but this guy came to the school and, yo, I want to learn drum now, or I want to learn songwriting now, just because of that one day. And so I opened up Rise with a Purpose back in July 2020 when pandemic was still very heavy. But I just said, hey, what better time to do it when we are in a pandemic and a lot is lost. And so one of the first things I did was I partnered up with a wellness company called doTERRA. And I did a match campaign with them, and I'm on my way to open up a full-time music school out here in Baltimore City that'll not just be here in the city, but we'll be broadcasting around the world because I just have a lot of colleagues, a lot of kids that need this music school. It would do a lot for them. And so we ended up raising over $30,000 in our first round of seeding. We just had another small fundraiser with Ellen and Tucker, which is an accounting firm out here in Baltimore. They raised $1,030 for us. And now in some talks with a couple architecture companies out here in the city to find a building for the music school. So the nonprofit has been open a little over a year and done heavy fundraising already. Have a homeless event that I'm doing on Saturday for my media community. And so as you can see, I'm just trying to exhaust my soul, to be honest, while I'm here on earth. It's get as much out of my body, get as much out of my talent, my skill, anything I need to continue to learn. I'm trying to get as much out of that. So when I'm old, I don't have no regrets. I'm not laying in some bed somewhere just going, man, I wish I did this and that, or I wish I was more blunt or stepped out there, man, or spoke up. I'm doing all that right now.
I love that. I love that. Our most recent episode, we interviewed a gentleman who goes out and he teaches companies and youth and troubled youth from Detroit all about purpose versus abandoned purpose. And I think that what you're talking about is just that. And music has saved so many lives over, the centuries. I tell people when people say, "Oh, why is music so important to you?" And I tell people, do you think the slaves could have made it in the fields without music?
Case in point.
Do you
Oh
think
man.
we could have made it through Reconstruction, make it through Jim Crow, and make it through everything we did, especially us as a people, without music? And we created all of American music, us.
Yeah.
So I find it like when people, music, no. Yes, I'm a music snob. Damn it. Yes, I am. I'm proud because music to me is like religion. You know what I mean? I take it very seriously. So hearing that is very, very inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, you touched on such a good point though, Mars, of just during the slave times of them using music to get by, but also using music to put messages in it to relay, almost
Mhm.
like a letter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just think
A
about back in
message.
the day. Yeah, some songs were, the government, unfortunately, they try to press down and suppress just because they didn't want those messages out. It was no different than silencing you in the streets when you're trying to open your voice, back in that time. So even to today, I think we both agree on Mars that we don't dislike a lot of these artists today. We just wish they would be more conscious of society. We're not saying you got to talk about, hey, protest this or that or be in every song, but you got to touch on some of those topics in the black community. You're from the black community, so you shouldn't just always, your message is let's get drunk, let's get high, let's smash chicks. Believe me, we all want to do that, but
Sure.
there's a
Absolutely.
time. It's a time and place for that. I don't want to hear 20 songs of that. You feel me, on your album? Give me some variety. You know what I mean? Give me some of that, and then your next song talk about something that I can go, yo, I've been through that. I can really relate with that right there. So that's what we ask, and that's why I love that you said that. That to this day is part of our duty as just being black men. And if you do any type of music, you got to take that time to put messages out to the world. Speak on what's going on in the black community, injustice that's going on at times, how we need to be, more positive, how we can push society, forward, how we can work with the cops. Whatever your side of your voice is, and you're a musician, you need to be using it at times. And that's what I'm saying, Key, at times to speak up and tell your audience, this is what's going on. Let's have this discussion.
Absolutely. And I always say, if Marvin Gaye can do "Let's Get It On" and "What's Going On," we can all. Those songs are
Blueprint,
completely polar
blueprint.
opposite, but it's
Yes, but the blueprint.
you absolutely you can be both. We're not monolithic. You could talk about,
Yep.
hey, I smoked a little, had a blast, partied out, but then after the party, I went and rebuilt my community. So it's perfect. It's a perfect
Yes, sir.
juxtaposition. I love it. I love it. Now, I've seen some of your videos, and you are an excellent stage performer. So I've seen you performing
Thank
with
you.
orchestras and symphonies, and it's super dope. And I know it's been great. We've had a ton of artists who love the stage, and this last year, with not really being able to go out, it's just been crushing on their soul. Have you been able to get out any over this last pandemic? And have you been missing it? What's that feeling like to you?
Yeah, I'm one of the blessed artists. Just being honest, I probably didn't do any shows for maybe 4 months. But during that time, I was more just gauging what was kind of going on in the industry, how other artists were approaching things. I saw artists doing things out of their home and giving effort, and trying to still entertain. But I kept saying to myself, well, man, I'm a musician, I'm an entertainer. How can I be more creative with this and still give audiences a real concert feel? And so before I would go on my tours, I would go up to this professional studio in Delaware, and that's where I would rehearse. And I would rehearse up there because they have a full blown stage. They would give me a full light show. I could run my full show, like literally a full concert with nobody there. So I said to myself, I would do this before I would go on tour anyway. You know what I mean? I would practice like almost like a full, regular show. So I approached them and I said, hey, if I can work out some concerts, even some workshops with some of my international colleagues and even some of my, colleagues here in the US, could you host me at your studio? And they was down, and so during, I would say, starting in October 2020, I started doing a run of concerts, workshops, classes, ranging from Panama to Tunisia to Tanzania to Ukraine. I just did Portugal 2 weeks ago. I got Russia and Germany coming up. Normally, I would go to these countries and do, concerts. I would do workshops. I would visit disability centers, orphanages, homeless centers, you name it. And I'm still trying to do that product by doing my concerts, doing my big workshops. Like I do a real dope hip hop history workshop that's real interactive. And I broadcast this out of a professional studio. So it's great video, it's great audio. The class sessions I do from home, similar to kind of how we doing right now on the podcast. And those are just kind of intimate sessions, where I'm not on some stage. I'm right here. I'm talking to the kids. And I always give them assignment where they have to work together to create a business, or they have to create 8 bars of a song, or they have to create a section of a performance. So all the classes I do are very interactive, and that was my thing. I was just taking literally the 4 months to get the money, get that funding to come in, but also just devising how I'm going to present this. And literally after I did that first concert, man, I got offers right after that, and I've been running nonstop ever since, to be honest. So my advice, I would just say to artists, is you weren't doing anything wrong. I would just say the only thing you could do better is you just weren't being as creative as you can be, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. We are creators, and so I just encourage you and challenge you that even during this time where we can't have an audience still, how can you do something spectacular? How can you do something creative on a virtual tip that no other artist is doing or has thought of yet? This is a competitive industry, so we still should be competing here.
Wise words. And necessity brings ingenuity. And
Yeah.
and that is very smart. That's something that us as a people we've always done. As I always say, a black guy created the cotton gin. We were tired.
Yeah.
We were tired of getting our fingers messed up. It breeds ingenuity. That is awesome. So, Wordsmith, we're gonna have a little fun. Normally, we know we do the song association things, but when I have a true lyricist, when I have a true MC, I'm not going to tell you the words. Those are yours. Your wordsmith, those are yours. If you wish, and only if you wish, if you can give the den mates a few bars or just something to just show them your level of expertise.
Sure, sure. Let me
Lord,
see. Ah, man, let me see. Yo, check it. I need a moment to unload if you're feeling me. Saying I'm an outcast and you don't want a remedy. Hoping that it change, but I'm feeling like an enemy. Feeling like it's prison and I'm dealing with the penalty. I know the system never will and never had my back. I know the fear that I see has got me off track. I tell the people that I'm hearing and they say I'm whack. That's a 90s style, the 90s word, so let me run that back. They told me Marz got me here and I'm on the mic. They told me my skinny jeans was right, but they wasn't tight. I'm from the 90s, kid. I like them baggy still. And if I got my drink, it's only half filled. And if I got a blunt, I like it smoking. I get my drinks chill. Forget the ice. But yo, Marz, tell these cats I'm extra nice. This is when you got bars and you got words. I'm a true lyricist and I heard you heard and you just a herb and you got slick words. But yo, cats, I'm from Baltimore City. It's the hood. This ain't the burbs. I'm spitting in your camera. You know it's feel. I just got to keep it real. I ain't talking about chains. The only reason I got this is because I got 2 kids and they mean the most to me, and that's a real thing. See, this first one is for my man King. The second one's for my man Zeke. That's my 2 sons, and I keep it real. And I keep it magnifique and so unique. So Marz, I'm about to end this real close and keep this in your face. Marz, right now, Wordsmith is in your place. Freestyle. Let's go.
Woo! I wish I had a lighter. Why did I bring a lighter? I wish I had a lighter. I'm going to edit that in later. More fire, more fire, more fire. I don't have a lighter.
Thanks for the platform too, though. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No, thank you for coming, man. That is magnificent. That is magnificent. Lyrics, ladies and gentlemen, off the cuff. This wasn't prepared. We didn't rehearse. We didn't do anything. One stumble. So this is my advice. I'm not a musician. However, if you can't do at least that level, which you probably can't, don't freestyle. Don't just tell people, hey, you got to pay for it. I don't want to hear any more mumbles and we'll leave that for Sesame Street or Barney or one of those. But that was fantastic. Wordsmith, thank you so much for joining me. The floor is yours. Tell the people where they can find you, your social media, anything you have coming up that you want the people to know about. It's on you.
Definitely. Thanks a lot too, Marz, by the way. You can check me out on my official websites, wordsmithmusic.com. If you want to check out my label and my team, I got some really dope artists, not just American artists, but international artists. You can go to newrevcamp.com. On my socials, just look up Wordsmith, except for IG, look up Wordsmith Music. And other than that, my new album called Bittersweet drops on September 17th. The first single, Bitter, is out right now. I just dropped the video yesterday for it. So look it up, check it out. It's on Vivo, YouTube. So go check it out, drop some comments, send some love, follow me, all that good stuff, and show my man Marz some love. That's it.
Yes, sir. And Bitter is out. I just listened to it on Tidal earlier today. It's fire. His past work everywhere you stream music. Please check it out. Please support. This is the art that we need, and we need artists like Wordsmith around, period. So please support the website, support his artists. Wordsmith, I love to have you back on. Maybe bring in some of your artists and we'll make it a thing. You're always welcome. You get your official stamp. It's something we do. So the official stamp, then mate, that means you're good for life. Whenever you want to come on, we have the floor for you. It's always yours. But as always, thank you again for joining me here on Down in the Den. It's your boy Marz checking out. And as always, deuces. So like, comment, subscribe. The show's starting right now. Let's go. Like, comment, subscribe. The show's starting right now.